Hi, welcome to Sober Banter. I am Colin.
And I am Rachel. Today we are joined by Kristen Crocker. She is a mother, stepmother, writer, and she is a big advocate for breaking the silence around alcoholism or sobriety and different terms that we use. Kristen holds an MFA in creative writing and is currently on Substack, which is how we met. She shares just really raw, real, insightful things about sobriety, parenting, and living without alcohol. You also run an entire tree work business, which I am curious to hear. I think it says chainsaws to motherhood.
Oh, wow.
So welcome, Kristen.
Thank you. Yeah.
We have tried so hard to schedule this because of both of us having, you have more kids than I do. I have one single kid.
Hey, they all get sick the same amount. I mean, they like kids are little germ factories, that's for sure.
I know,
Germ
but
factory.
for you, that's got to be almost 2-month process when one gets it by the
It
time
is.
it runs
Yeah.
through
We
the house.
had a pretty brutal winter.
Oh, wow.
So we have 8 kids together combined. So my husband and I were a blended family. So my 4 stepkids are 14, 10, 8, and 6. My boys I have a 7-year-old set of twins and then a 6-year-old. So the 2 littlest boys are just 1 month apart. And then we have a 15-month-old. So
If ever there was a time to do the Brady Bunch boxes in the intro.
yeah, it's funny because people always say, "Oh, the Brady Bunch," and I'm always like, "And some."
Yeah. And
It's
some.
not just that. So it is 6 boys and 2 girls. So I always joke. So our baby was a planned baby. We wanted to have a baby together, and definitely everybody thought we were like huge idiots because we already had 7 kids.
Yeah.
And we have all of them primary custody, actually. So we have all of them almost all the time.
Yeah, go ahead. We
Yeah,
want to
so-
hear
so-
about a little bit of where you are in your life. Who are you? Who is
Yeah.
Kristen?
Yep, that's an excellent question. Still learning. Yeah, so when I met my husband, I was actually sober already. It was taking me a minute to remember what it was. So my sobriety date is December 19th, 2022. And the reason why I get confused on it is because the whole entire year prior, so I spent most of that year sober, but I had a couple of mini relapses in between. And so I always get confused because it was 12/12/21 when I really started getting some time, consecutive time, because I'd been attempting to get time for a long time. So I had a couple of 3-month spurts, but it wasn't until December 19th of 2022 that I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I was actually in AA for that, I would say, that entire year prior. So I had been reading a lot of a lot of the top sobriety books. I had joined the Luckiest Club.
Mhm.
So I did that book, We Are the Luckiest by Laura McCowan, was a big deal in
I
my
love that
sobriety journey. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that what was so impactful for me in that book was, here was a strong, smart woman who just alcohol was ruining her life, and so it was for me, in coming to terms with the fact that I couldn't drink, I didn't have a low bottom. I just wasn't showing up in life the way that I wanted to show up anymore. And since I had my kids, I didn't have any legal trouble. I held a job, I owned my house. I was married.
That was the same with us. It was very
Yeah.
internal. Yeah, we didn't lose the house. We weren't losing our son.
We could have gone
We
lower.
could have.
Right.
And thankfully we didn't, because I'm still reminded of, I feel like this close to losing my job
Yeah.
when someone kind of questioned my sobriety at work. And so and I work at a place that has a 0 alcohol tolerance. So when I came back from a lunch break, it was kind of obvious, and I blamed on a bunch of cold medicines and drugs and stressed at home and
Yeah.
played it off
Yeah.
that way. And then
He blamed his wife.
yeah, well, that's the go-to. If I had lost that job, talk about really hitting rock bottom. And that happened maybe 3 months before we got sober. That was gearing up towards the end. That was around June when that happened, and our sobriety date's November. It was really ramping up those last couple months before we got
So
sober.
November, was that just before Thanksgiving or after
Yeah.
Thanksgiving? Okay.
The week of. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's why I identify so much with what you're saying. And I think we're seeing this cultural shift of, you don't have to lose everything before
Right.
you say
Right.
it's enough with
Right.
alcohol. it's
Right.
okay to just say,
You can tap out early.
yeah,
Right.
I haven't relapsed since taking my first desire chip, but I had tried many, many times before to quit drinking.
Right.
And so
Right.
I totally relate with you saying, because I think had I not had the dry Januaries and sober Octobers of like those 2 years prior and trying to do a whole 30, those were my proof that like I can't stay sober.
Yeah. A couple of times that I relapsed, it was like I was out of town or like, well, I'm not hurting my kids. So so I was on a trip, and so I'm like, okay, well, this
The
is
freebie.
acceptable. Yeah. And so that, I mean, I even texted my best friend and I was like, well, what if I only drink when I'm out of state? Like, what about that? And she was like, well, as long as you don't start driving to Virginia to get a drink. And I was just like, of course I wouldn't do that. But then I was like, well, Virginia, you're right. Well, I'm on the East Coast. The states aren't very big over here. This is so much easier than the West
Pack up your
Coast.
stuff.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah.
So actually, that was the part in the big book in AA. There's a part in the big book where in the chapter more about alcoholism where it says, here are some of the methods we have tried, and it's like, we tried switching to beer. We promised we would never drink on the job. We would do this, we would do that, we would do this. And you just end up drunk. It never worked out. So I feel like in that year, those were the couple of things that happened to me where it was like, I cannot, and it's not even that I can't drink. It's that it's not a risk I'm willing to take any longer. Like, I don't know where, and this is obviously a very common phrase in AA, that kind of like, I don't know where the drink will lead me, and that I just can't, that's not a risk that I can take. And so that is one of my original missions with my Substack and with my writing, was to work on that word, to see if I could move the needle, kind of join in the conversation about the word alcoholic and alcoholism. And does alcoholic have to be a bad word? And that was really kind of like one of my big missions, because I was just like, well, alcoholic just means a person whose body doesn't respond well to alcohol. Like, does it need to have this negative connotation? And so I'm actually kind of in a funny place with that, where I'm just like, do I need to change the meaning of that word? Or is it just like too much?
So I think
like there might just be too much cultural connotation, negative connotation against that word. And like,
well, no, I totally understand though, because it's different when I think the scenarios I would say when you're in the rooms and you're around a bunch of other people with alcoholics, like it doesn't feel like a negative word. It feels like literally just a word thrown around.
Like that's how you introduce yourself. Some people say I have a desire to be sober. Some people say I'm in recovery or whatever.
But
a
lot of different things.
Obviously, like everybody has seen in a movie. It's hi, Kristen alcoholic.
I know, right? And the stigma really comes when it's outside of the rooms. Alcoholic to me is not a negative label until you talk to someone who does not deal with alcoholism in their family or around. Like, I'm talking about a true normie.
They're just like, oh my gosh, are you in the gutter?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. No, seriously. Like, are you going to get contagious? Do I need to watch you? Do I need to worry?
Yeah, like you can't handle any sort of life situations.
I go back and forth because I'm like, okay, but the grittiness of the word alcoholic and the ugliness of that word, maybe that's okay. You know what I mean? Because like for me, it was an ugly situation. It was not a good thing that I did to myself. But at the same time, like you're saying, it's like people are just kind of take this like, ugh, like, ugh, an alcoholic. Or it's whispered in families like, oh, they're an alcoholic. Oh, they couldn't hold a job, alcoholic. But it's like on the other side of all that negativity for women and moms, it's like, oh, here's your mommy juice. Oh, of course you're drinking. You have to get through the day. Or, you mentioned the piece I just had on the Sober App Substack about drinking at the pool,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like we get there and, everybody's like, oh my God, you have all those kids, take a White Claw, and
why is that the
thank
norm?
you.
Like, who says that? Here, be unpresent and like when you're around water, which can be super dangerous with
I know.
kids. Who says that? But that is how people that don't probably have a drinking problem, they think it just like maybe takes the edge off, but that's not what it does for me. It ruins my life. It takes, and then all I can think about is the next drink. And now I'm not thinking about kids in the water. I'm thinking about how do I get more liquor to this pool and still be able to compose myself?
I feel like that's just been etched in the culture for even our parents' generation.
But it shouldn't
be.
Like,
no, it shouldn't be. But
that fueled my alcoholism.
That it was normal that
Yes.
as a mom or as a what?
It's like you're right. It's you deserve it. You
right.
Even to someone who does not have alcoholism, why are we encouraging because alcohol in the DSM, it's in the same category as drug use.
Right.
We don't say, hey, why don't you go do a bump and a line to stay awake at the pool, go do some cocaine, like you deserve it.
Right. Right.
No one says that because that would be crazy.
Well, no normie says that, but
no normie or anyone, like, it's the same, like, hey, alcohol, it's a depressant, number one. Or if you replace that, hey, go take a Prozac, a Klonopin, a Xanax, go to the pool. You deserve it. You deserve the edge off. No one says that.
Right.
It's very similar to alcohol, and it's super dangerous for people that have an allergy that makes them like want more.
Right. My husband is actually a normie, like through and through. He doesn't drink. I've seen him drink like twice because we like went to dinner. This is like when we first got together. I was like, you don't have to not drink because I am not drinking. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. He orders the Corona and he drinks half of it. That's always my joke. He said his tummy hurts. You drink half a 4% beer and you have a tummy ache?
bubbly.
But
The way the lime interacted with everything.
And then he had me drive.
because he's wasted.
Are you serious? He's just like, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, it is funny because he obviously is super, super supportive. Going back to what you were saying about, he has learned a lot about the program of AA, and he does some, we'll get into Al-Anon later. But So Al-Anon is a little bit of a, since he met me in sobriety, sometimes he feels like he doesn't quite belong in Al-Anon because do you remember the movie Half Baked with Dave Chappelle where where he goes to that like drug or maybe like the thing and he's saying
Bob
Saget.
Yeah. And then Dave
Chappelle for weed, like no.
And they're throwing tomatoes at him.
Screw this man.
Yeah.
And that downplays alcoholism, which isn't fair. I'm like, NA really isn't like that. They are very inclusive of alcohol, but and also weed is another one that people think it's not addictive. It 1000% is.
I like your story when you talk to your sponsor about weed.
I did the same thing, by the way, just so you feel like you're not alone. You talk about Virginia trying to drive over there.
The negotiation.
I thought it would be okay. It was my first month or two sober, and I was just like to my sponsor, what do they do in Colorado where weed's legal? Like, what do meetings are? What are they like there? And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, because weed's legal, you can go smoke over there. If I go to Colorado, I can smoke. And she's like, Rachel, alcohol is legal and you can drink it here. Just because something is legal does not mean you are not an addict. And I was like, oh yeah. Okay. Because I was like, maybe we could move to Colorado. And this is something I don't know that we've talked about because it's been so long. And this brings back this memory of in the beginning, in your Virginia story, like when you were newer in sobriety, your brain does try to escape. I mean, it is a full-time job because my brain was thinking, okay, I can't drink, right? I've accepted, I have alcoholism, I have step 1, 2, and 3, I have the allergy. Now my brain goes, what else can we, like, where can we move to? Almost like the Alien Predator or the Last of Us. Like, it's got to go somewhere. I wasn't even a big weed smoker. I would do edibles every now and then. Usually it was after drinking.
Right.
But my brain played that trick. And had I not had a sponsor there, I could have maybe gone to Colorado and tried to sub weed.
Yeah, I definitely did have, honestly, some maladaptive
so normal, though.
coping mechanisms. For sure. I had prescription anxiety medication, lorazepam, which is like not recommended
on that.
People who have an alcohol issue or are prone to addiction. I wouldn't say that I was addicted to it. So if I felt it was too much, I would take that in that first year of sobriety. So I don't count that as relapsing because it was like a prescription drug that I was taking, but it wasn't useful. I don't take it anymore. It kind of got to, and that actually reminds me of Laura McCowan. I think she said in her book that she took like
that night
sleeping pill or like something like that. Yeah, exactly.
And that was so powerful.
It was similar to that feeling where I was like, what the lorazepam started doing to me was I would just like pass out, and so I was like, this is too familiar to the passing out of. So anyway, so I did obviously stop taking that, and I didn't have any kind of like withdrawal or any real issue with stopping it. I was just kind of like, this is a pain in the ass. I have to feel my feelings.
But in your reference to Laura McCowan, it was a really powerful move. And I don't think she wasn't not sober. I don't think
Right.
you were not
Right.
sober.
Right.
I think that there is another thing that is not stressed about enough when we talk about getting sober. There are levels. And obviously, I'm not saying it's just like quitting all your vices at once.
Yeah.
I think it's okay, especially if you're with a doctor, you're prescribed this stuff. It's okay to ease into it, if you will, like obviously doing the best you can, but at the same time, I was on naltrexone before I got sober, and that is a pill that will block the dopamine release of when you drink.
Right.
And I struggled because my psychiatrist is like, well, if you're really only drinking a few, then you shouldn't have any problem taking this. And I mean, that raised my alertness to like, I remember trying to throw up that pill because I like wanted to drink. And I'm like, I'm trying to throw up a pill.
Yeah.
And I think I might have a problem. If you're trying to throw up a medicine that blocks that and you realize you want to drink so badly, you're like, how do I get this medication down my system fast? Is it already going to block the drink? And it's like, Rachel, come on.
One thing I really have heard that I like is to quit the things in the order that they're killing you. You know, so that alcohol was definitely killing me the fastest.
When you're sober and you're not adding it with alcohol, because I used to drink on lorazepam. And I know that that's like something you're definitely not supposed to do. I would be super drunk and I'd be like, I'm stressed. I'm going to take this. And I mean, again, the amount of medications, who did we talk about that I was like, that doesn't apply to me? Those medications that say don't drink on them, those are for losers.
Yeah.
Like, those are for people that aren't pros like me.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. It says not to consume more than 2 or 3 drinks.
I was like, all my medications say that. They don't know me.
They don't know me.
They don't know me. That's for the other people picking up medication.
So I smoked cigarettes while I was drinking, and then obviously I quit smoking while I was pregnant. I pointed upstairs because she's actually upstairs napping. When I got pregnant with her, I quit smoking. The thing that has always been funny to me is when I got pregnant, no problem quitting drinking. Like no problem, or smoking, or anything that could potentially harm the baby. I was eating leafy greens. I was like I was doing everything humanly possible, at least with my twins. With my first pregnancy, I was all about everything that I could possibly do to give these babies the best start. It was so easy. And so that was another thing that when I started trying to get sober, that I was just like, why was that so easy? My love for them, like that was such a no-brainer, you know, and I didn't even miss it. I didn't even think about it. Although sometimes I do think that in my pregnancy with the twins, I'm pretty sure I was just on a pink cloud.
But I didn't have a problem either. Like we weren't trying to get pregnant. I didn't even think I could get pregnant, to be honest. I was like 8 weeks when I found out. So not super, but
not like having the baby.
Because I did not know I was pregnant before. I felt so guilty. I was so scared.
Yeah.
I was in a rush to get a sonogram because I was
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell doctors. I don't think I've said it till now. Like, and I mean, I don't know that
I think everyone told us the first couple weeks it doesn't really affect.
But I like would not touch a drop of alcohol because I was already worried. I think that was the most stressful 7 months of like, I just wanted him to be born and I just wanted to see him.
Yeah.
Well, I remember in the middle of your pregnancy, because just like you, Kristen, I mean, she was feeling really good on her cloud 9. At one point, she looked at me and said, I don't know if I'll ever drink again.
I did not saying that. I don't remember saying that.
She said that. I remember thinking, well, I definitely don't want to live with someone that doesn't want to drink anymore because I like drinking. And I remember I was telling people I was drinking for 3 because of her being pregnant.
My first husband had a child, so I had a stepson from my first marriage. He was really 13 or 14 years apart. So he was 14 when I got, 13, 14 when I got pregnant. And he said to me, do you think you'll start drinking again? And I remember I said, I don't know. I am really enjoying this. And I really was. And I was at that time, it's kind of interesting, I guess, thinking back. So that would have been, they were born in 2017, almost 8 years ago. I knew for a long, 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 long time that I had an alcohol issue. And I just kept thinking I would get it under control. Or that just, again, kind of that like, well, I'm still young. But that was one of the first times I thought, well, this isn't so bad, actually. It wasn't like, because I was really, truly pink cloud. Then they were born, my twins were born actually.
And then they were born and it's all off.
Well, so the crazy part about that, so they were born 8 weeks early. So they were in the NICU for 40 days. That was really,
Oh,
really, really rough.
oh,
They're
yeah.
all good now. Everything's fine. I was fortunate. They were born at 32 weeks, which is like not quite a cutoff, but like that's kind of like when things will
Isn't it
probably.
32 to 36 for twins? Like
That's very common. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So at 32, everything's probably going to be okay. It was horrible. It was horrible. I have no idea. It was really bad. But anyway, so I was told, but I was having a really hard time with milk production. I was trying to pump so they couldn't nurse, because they were in their little incubator, or whatever. And so I was trying to pump, and that was not going very well. Somebody said that a beer would encourage milk production. And so I was off to the races after that. It was like, oh, if I drink a stout. So I found these 15% stouts. I was like, oh, this is good for the milk.
We're gonna sleep great tonight.
For milk production. So I did drink while I was breastfeeding. And I have to, like, my OB said that it was like, that was fine. She said not a whole lot gets passed to them. I probably interpreted that as I wanted to hear it. Being sober
I drank
now.
with breastfeeding and had to like time interval. And I can't tell you how many milk test strips we bought, but it was way, way too many.
Yeah.
And like I would label some for like a bath milk because I was like, oops, too much Jameson, too much margarita.
Yes. Yeah. Not for feeding. Yeah, exactly.
I would put
exactly.
it was in those little bags.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly.
And I would put the number of drinks I had and like
For
what
the
the milk
date.
tested as. And looking back, red flag.
And then I breastfed my third son from my second pregnancy. I spent a lot of time Googling, texting my friends, like, you think it's okay, right? I think I'm really hungover, been just being scared. So having this baby and not having to worry about any of those things with nursing her has been such a
oh my God, it has to be the biggest mental because half of my brain was dedicated to how I could drink and breastfeed and pump and dump.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just mortifying.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, so then I would drink while feeding because it wouldn't hit my system. And so then
I remember that. I remember doing that. Yeah. Yeah.
All of these sentences are like, most people who don't have a drinking problem don't ever wonder if they have a drinking problem. I'm sure your husband has never thought, do I have a drinking problem?
Yeah.
Where I thought that after the third time I drank alcohol, I'm like, do I have a drinking problem? I thought that every single day. My Google search history, how fast is the milk? I was like a scientist, man.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, seriously. Well, and again, like, it's like, when I think about like an AA word, the insanity of that, it's just like, oh my God.
Seriously.
But it was just totally normal.
I thought it was worth it. I'm like, I won't forget pumping and dumping, sitting in a dive bar bathroom for fancy football. I'm in this closed stall, super drunk, looking at all this milk I'm going to throw in the toilet. And I was just like, this has to, like, it didn't feel good. Like, I remember that moment so clearly of being like, this doesn't even feel fun. This feels, it was sad. But what did I do? I continued drinking. And then I probably cried. And it was like, really, it was not fun. It became unfun more than it was fun, which is why I think at the point that it came where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And before AA, I didn't know how many people out there were like me. So AA, my first meeting was really an introduction to be like, there's a lot more like me than I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just said it too, Kristen. Like when you hear some of the things in AA, people doing the same thing you're doing, because when you're doing it, you don't think it's crazy. But when you hear someone else say it, you're kind of like, that guy's fucking insane.
Right.
Why is he doing that? And then it clicks, I'm doing that too. And then you're like, I'm insane. And then that's
or just that endless negotiation of, can I drive to Virginia?
Yeah.
Of like what am I trying to, like, again, when you talk about things my husband has never thought that.
Googling historical sites in Virginia.
exactly like, so and I am grateful that I'm grateful every day that I've accepted that I'm a better person when I don't drink alcohol. I was not having the fun I thought I was having. I think that was the other realization, was like, this is not making me like a cool mom and so again, back to my, my It's always awkward. I'm always like, my ex stepkid, my former, who I'm still in touch with. We're still close. So that's why it's just always awkward. I'm like, this sounds so rude. I'm like, but how do I describe this relationship? Anyway, so my ex stepson there were times he said, like, I thought I was really fun because I would stay up late getting wasted and play Monopoly. You know, like I could play so much Monopoly. I had so much patience for Monopoly.
You're like drunk counting the dollars. How much money is it?
Yeah,
It's money anyway.
seriously. And so there were a couple times he said he didn't like that I drank that were really painful. But that, and I remember my thought legitimately was like, when are you going back to your mom's?
Yeah.
But
You know,
seriously,
how,
because
you know, and when can I like, God, that hurts so deep. I'm not ready to, you know, like, and we actually had primary custody of him as well. So it was not very often that he was gone.
But I relate to that too, because my mom, to help got me sober, is before helping me get sober, suggested AA. I knew she was in AA.
Oh, I didn't know that your mom. No, I didn't know that your mom.
But a lot of the times when I would call and complain about something that happened 100% of the time due to drinking,
Right.
her first question would be, were you drinking? And I would get mad. I would be like, you're not even understanding by. I would totally shut it off and be like, how? Or if she was over in person, I'm like, if she asked me, were you drinking? I'm like, when can she leave? Get her out. She doesn't understand. It's not about the drinking. Like, she's just like, she always points there. So, I mean, I totally understand.
But I also like, I mean, there was definitely something inside me like, this isn't how you want to show up. I don't want the thought to be, when are you leaving, so that I can do what I really want to do. There were a couple times like that. And so he actually stayed in the Pacific Northwest when we moved to North Carolina. So then I did have free for all. But that was another big thing about my kids. So they were 3 and 4-ish when I got sober. I just remember them looking at me like they trust me so much. They trust me implicitly. They love me and I love them. Looking in their eyes, I have to show up for them. In AA, you can't get sober for anyone else. So there's a twist with how I got sober, because I got sober so I could be the mom that I want to be. So it really was for me, but it was because I was so moved by the amount of love I had for my kids. And I thought, why am I okay treating myself like shit? Why am I okay just like abusing myself, my body?
And I didn't drink the way I used to drink. Oh my God. I would be like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know.
I would freak out.
Yeah.
And be like, give it over here. I 100% understand what you're saying. I don't know if he's ever experienced it, but like when I first was sober with Evan, who was also 2, and I just sat there and I was like, I'm in charge. Like, are they sure when they want to leave me here? I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is probably like, yeah, you do, or you're like, oh my God, like I am the parent. What is happening right now? I get it. I totally have felt that. I'm so responsible.
And the other thing that happened for me is that my ex-husband and I were starting to separate like a year and a half after they were born. He was home, so I didn't feel as bad about getting drunk. It was like, okay, if there's a house fire, I guess he'll figure it out, kind of thing, you know, like hopefully he can wake me up. That was a big turning point. And I'm still really processing this and trying to. So my alcoholism, I would say, did not lead to the demise of my marriage. We had a lot of fun together when we didn't have kids. And once that real world, like, and you know, now I live in a house in the suburbs. We met in grad school. We were writers. Like, this many children elementary school life was not necessarily like what we set out to do. Our circumstances changed in a way that obviously our fault. We weren't necessarily meant to be together, if that makes, you know what I mean? So that kind of like is where we began to separate. But it really did take us separating for me to like, so I would say he is in a much healthier place now, and I'm in a much healthier place now. You know, and we're both showing up for our kids in a way that I don't think we were when we were together, if that makes sense. I was not going to get sober not being single. One thing I have to say about being single when I was getting sober was really nice, because I only had to worry about myself. I know you guys were married when you got sober.
In my head, I was single the first year.
Yeah. on whether it's easier or harder, because I've had my sponsor thinks it was harder, like our method of just being married, and I'm looking at other people in the rooms who are single and have so much downtime. I'm like, how do you guys stay sober? I'm trying to raise a toddler and keep a job. Like, I was so busy. Like, my day was so filled.
He was busy on apartments.com. Don't let him fool you.
Well,
Like,
yeah, apartments are gonna find themselves.
And then he was like, that's so much money. He's like,
Yeah.
It's like,
Come back to reality.
But really, the first year, I felt kind of guilty not being home. But like at that point, my recovery came. Still, my recovery still does come first, but my recovery is more stable now. In the beginning, I don't even think I really thought about my sponsor was like, table the marriage.
Right. No big decisions for a year, right?
Since I wasn't fueled by alcohol, it's not like we were really getting in fights. I was doing personal inventories and I was really seeing my side of the marriage, which I was not upholding. He was working full time. So, I mean, there really was in our first year of sobriety, I just kind of focused on me. So like I was married, but I don't think that we really worked on our marriage till like year 2.
Which makes a whole lot of sense. You don't even really know what you're working with. Like, I feel like when I first got sober, like I was not really sure who I was walking through the world, which was funny, because I'm like, here I am in my 30s and I'm just like, that was another thing with parenting my kids where I'm trying to teach them Mr. Rogers stuff about how to deal with their feelings. What does mommy do when she's mad? I'm like, what does mommy do when she's sad? Oh, I drink. Shit. What does mommy do when she's bored? Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Or the answer to all these, exactly.
Yeah.
Like any emotion that mommy feels. Obviously, I'm not saying this out loud. And then the other thing that was really helpful for me, and I've written about this, just the idea of the Zoom meetings is what really saved me. So I could always just have a Zoom meeting in my ear. And so I was just always listening to meetings. I have a super, super strong foundation in AA, like in what people say in the rooms. I really, really, really fixated on the literature. That's one thing that I do feel is not stressed enough in the rooms is to talk about the literature. But it is hard to read the big book, though. And that was one of the
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to get into this because we've talked about this through messaging on Substack. First, I will disclose we do not represent AA.
Of course.
Yep. We are in no way like every AA group is autonomous within themselves. It's self-ran. We are just people that got sober that have no power, position, representation. Like we are not anyway affiliated. We are just people that got sober and have been in the rooms of AA. And this is like our observations or takes. Yeah. And I've read the book.
Yeah.
So with saying
which
that,
is public, like, I mean, come on, like
it's seriously. So when I posted at 1 month sober, I posted on social and I do remember getting a talk from other people in the group. I did not like even tag the group, mention the group. I think I did say something, maybe I'll have to go look, but I was told, hey, we got to talk about tradition 11.
Yeah. So I've gotten a lot of shit about that.
It didn't really make sense to me because I'm a millennial. I put a lot of my life on Facebook and it felt weird to not share because it was like my entire life. And the other, I guess I was also just feeling so good that I was like, I want other people to know how good I feel because we talk about this and it's gone even more progressive to 2025. But in 2020, 2021, right before I got sober, I don't think my Instagram reels were full of this positive change that you could feel this good without alcohol. I kind of felt like I found the life hack to life. And I felt almost wrong. I waited to share it. People said, oh, what if you relapse? Like that was the biggest fear thing that they put in front of me of, aren't you going to be so embarrassed? Like if you go put that you're sober and then someone sees you drinking in a bar. And I'm like, if I'm drinking in a bar, we got a lot bigger problems.
Yeah. Well, I'm always like, if the whole, like, you don't want That's what I've heard a lot too. Like, what if you relapse? That'll make the program look bad. That'll show that the program doesn't work. And it's like, is it not part of the program to go back? Aren't they supposed to welcome you with open arms if you were to like, that doesn't indicate a failure of the program. You're just a human being.
And I heard the best quote on Ginny and I watched the Ginny and Georgia season 3. I like to have it in the background, binge watch. And the girl said the most profound thing, and I wrote it down: relapse is a part of recovery. That's why we talk about it. And I was like, boom, there you go. Relapse is a part of recovery. That does not mean you have to go relapse.
Right.
That does not mean,
right.
But
I always hear people say relapse is a part of my story, and but it doesn't have to be that kind of thing. And but I'm also always like, I don't recommend it.
But relapse
was not
is a part of recovery. Not talking about it is how it happens.
Yeah.
And or it also strengthens your own personal sobriety, because relapse is a part of sobriety. If you don't find it for yourself, alcoholics are stubborn. People with drinking problems, from what I've seen, from me personally, very personally, I am very stubborn.
Yeah.
And had it not been for those sober Octobers, dry Januaries, the pregnancy, the milk, all of these things I did on my 4th step, there probably would have been like, let me go double check.
Yeah.
In the big book, it says,
Go back and check it out.
you can easily diagnose yourself. Try to quit, go to a bar and see if you can stop drinking quickly. You know
how many times Bill relapsed? Tons.
Right.
Yeah. And literally his last trip in the asylum, like the Dr. Silkworth, he's like, I've found the solution. And he's at the loony bin.
Yeah. Right.
So, because he's like, after he talked to Ebby, he's like, I have this profound knowledge. And he goes, what did I do? Well, I went and drank.
Mm-hmm.
He's like any normal person with alcoholism would. This is all in his story. There's a stigma of sharing because there is this tradition 11 is that attraction rather than promotion, right? You're not supposed to promote yourself because why? It's ego. You're not supposed to represent the program.
Yep.
The relapse.
But I'm always like, do you know, one of my big issues with even coming to AA was I thought I had that whole like, well, it's a cult mentality. And so I'm just like, if you're telling me not to talk about it, do you know how culty that is? Like, you're making yourself seem so much like that's making this program seem so much more creepy than it is. It's not.
It's not actually a cult. But if you see anyone struggling, it is your job to carry the message and to help that person know you recovered, and so that you pass on the message. So that's your step 12, which they say is the most important, carrying the message. Whenever I am responsible, and literally they tell me I'm responsible for carrying the message, but also don't tell anyone.
Right. Well, so that's where I get confused on the contradiction between carrying the message and keeping it a secret or whatever. But so one of the things I do like that. So I guess to me that all kind of goes back to like, you can be too much of a purist of anything kind of, like with like, so I do think that people who get hung up on the 11th tradition, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't think that we have time. Like, women are dying. Our livers are corroding. Like men too. I'm sorry, Colin, but I mean, women.
You're right. I mean, yeah.
His liver is such a woman's liver. No.
Yeah. I was raised by women, so
he has 2 lesbian moms. Don't let him fool you.
I somehow got their liver. I was raised that way. The nature,
the gentle soul.
Yeah. So I get really confused on how to uphold the 11th tradition while still leading. But I mean, I will say I do think that like you might be the only copy of the big book someone ever sees. I like that phrasing a lot. I like the idea that to lead with my behavior, and I think that also goes back to like, okay, well, it's my job to help somebody. If they reach out to me, that doesn't mean I need to be going up to every single person. Like, so you can do it wrong.
No, yeah, you're right.
Like you can be, it's not your job it's not my job to pass judgment or diagnose someone else or,
Right.
And so that is where I've seen people struggling. A lot of the things we've said, no normal person asks, do I have a drinking problem? They just don't worry about it. And again, to pivot the question to less, am I an alcoholic, and more like, would I be better served? Is this causing problems in my life? Would I be better served by not drinking? And again,
that's your husband. He would be like, what? I don't think so. Like, I've never really thought about it. And then you're like, you're excused. please
Right,
leave the
right,
class.
right.
It's like juror not selected.
It's just not a big deal to him. He had a beer at one dinner, and then his parents came one time, and I really wanted, these are like my new in-laws, and I wanted to have wine for them. So we had wine at the house, and he was really freaked out about it. There's a boundary you're crossing. And, I'm just like, no, my spiritual condition is fine. It's all good. So he was all
You're just
wigged
like
out.
on the nanny cam, like you're just constantly looking at the bottle and you're just like everywhere, like all eyes like sneaking around the corner and like looking at it.
Well, I will say I did not want to keep it in my house overnight, or I didn't want to. Like I just didn't want to. So it did not bother me to have it serving. It actually made me feel kind of empowered, that I could have it at my house, but I wouldn't want to keep it here. That's the only other time he's had like a glass of wine. And that was actually super funny because I got rid of all my wine, all my like drinking stuff. So I was like,
did you almost just say drinking paraphernalia?
I was going to say paraphernalia. Whatever it was.
Oh my God. I was like, please say that. That's hilarious.
It was really funny because,
come in, they're like, there's drinking paraphernalia in this place.
There's bottle openers everywhere.
They have a whole shrine to it. It's a whole cabinet. It was glasses.
It was pretty funny because I was trying to again be a nice hostess to my new in-laws, and I'm just like, here's your wine. I have coffee cups.
It was great.
Here's some mismatched coffee cups. Enjoy.
That's how I used to drink mine. So I don't know about you. Yeah,
I drink my wine out of a pint glass. It was not good.
Oh yeah, no, same. I did not care. It was whatever glass was clean.
Right.
That was pretty much our rule. But to also go back on, the literature is hard to read.
Yeah.
I got really upset and hurt at the rejection of the 5th grade reading level book. Like that was suggested for AA to make it at, and people were so rude about it.
I completely agree.
There are people that did not grow up in good homes and don't have good schools and were very poor because their parents spent all of the money on alcohol. And I'm not blaming the parents because I get it. Like they were living in a disease, and I've been in that disease, and it's scary.
Right.
But to say that you won't let a breakdown because it doesn't translate, it's still carrying the message.
So exactly. That's exactly what I was just going to say. Exactly. So why are you putting more barriers for people to access Design for Living, this program? Why make it hard? And that's the same kind of thing going back to kind of like the Curious, where it's like, well, I had to sit there. My sponsor told me to get a thesaurus and to sit down and to look up, or not a dictionary, and look up every word I didn't know, and it's just like, well, that sounds like like really difficult.
Yeah.
Like they had cell phones back then. It was easier.
You don't have time for that.
And for someone who is already struggling, isn't the goal to make it simple for them?
Yeah.
The whole chapter to the wives.
The first time I saw that, I was like, I can't do this.
I didn't like that one. I really don't like the to the wives.
Right. That it presumes both that you have a wife, or that there is a wife. Again, back to that kind of like, what about husband, or, like whatever, or non-binary, or all those kinds of things. And that the woman is the one supporting the man who has the drinking problems. That's another thing that I think in the Big Book makes it.
Well, women couldn't vote when the Big Book was made. Right. I want that to sink in.
Yeah.
Women made 60 cents to every dollar a man made. That was 20 years after the Big Book was written. It was married men were, married women, they were not working. They were childbearing, which is why there's this chapter to the wives. Yes, your husband's going to have to leave the home and help an alcoholic who's dying, and you're going to have to say he's a better man for it.
Didn't they also say you're going to have to bring home a drunk to sleep on the couch every now and then?
They say,
I think so. Yeah.
And that's in the beginning of, I think, Working with Others.
Okay.
But
yeah.
So I like the voice that you read it in, though, because I'm being serious, because that is the language that, like, that is the way that it reads, is that like, it's like this old timey,
dismissive old man.
Yeah. I have a post on reading the Big Book and how I like let go of my, like, how I could read it for the message, as opposed to like being just, because if I critique it with a 21st century feminist lens. I mean, it is horrible.
It's horrible. Don't put a feminist lens on it,
and
because
so
that
it's really bad. So that old timey radio announcer voice kind of thing, that is like how I had to read it. So I actually like that you did that, because that's that's how I hear it.
well, it's hard to not do it in that way. And I think we all agree that it's like, I'm not saying that this book did not save my life. I am deeply grateful. I am indebted to the program and he stumbled upon something that has helped just, I mean, beyond millions, because there is the ripple effect that,
oh yeah,
us being sober also affects heaven. There's that ripple.
Yeah.
So you think of how many, but the literature is very much stigmatized to the point where I think they're the ones carrying the stigma.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem.
Right.
Because now it's like you've protected it now, but we have to go, if you're not evolving with the times,
right,
you're actually probably hurting the message and making it less inclusive. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I just don't see the issue with having, it's not like that one has to go away forever. You know, that's the one that was written then. So now it's a piece of history to be read as was written, you know, to like examine, you know, you could do whatever you want with it, but to distill that message into a more, less offensive, honestly.
But
some people in AA would like lose their minds talking about revising, you know, changing anything.
Well, you saw that happened because
exactly. You're right.
The people. And so because it says this is how men and women, and there is a big, and guess what? People that identify in the LGBTQ, they also have alcoholism. Not all of them.
Right.
Sorry, I was like, not general, but
right. They did change it to people though, right? In the preamble.
They changed it back. It got revoted.
What?
They just
I didn't know that.
It got revoked. And that's what I'm saying, because people threw such a hissy fit that it needs to be preserved. And you want to know where that really derives from if you're going in the history? Al-Anon. It was Bill's wife who started Al-Anon after he passed and was like, don't touch anything. Leave it as is, like the Bible. That was not what he wanted. He said, let it evolve. When Dr. Bob passed, his last speech and his last talk with Bill was, don't fuck this up. Don't ruin this. Don't become almighty. And that's where, like, I think almost some traditions were to keep Bill in his head, because they did want to put him on the cover of Time magazine. That's where his ego started growing. And that's where some of the traditions was made, where he's like, we don't want to have like one public, because Bill even to himself said he didn't want to be the end all be all, because he's like, God gave me this gift. My higher power gave me this gift.
Yeah.
And I think we're like, attraction, not promotion. A better phrase would be attraction, not preaching, not name calling, not pointing. I would never point the finger at someone and say, you should go to AA.
Right. So, I mean, the other thing is, so when I told some of my friends from grad school that I was in AA, I mean, they were shocked. I mean, they were just not that I had a drinking problem, but that I was attending.
They knew that,
but that I was attending what they thought, you know, was like a religious cult, you know, and I was just like, it's not a religious cult, you know, like it's, you know, the people. But again, some groups operate more religious culty, you know. So the group that I found, you know, that I really liked is a more progressive, open-minded, well-educated group of women, you know, who are not that you have to be well-educated, but my point there is that like it was not in the gutter, you know, it was not those people, and that blew my mind. And so that's why I also want to be vocal about the fact that I am in that AA was a huge component of what got me sober. It was not the only thing. It was not, you know, the like taking the first step and doing all that, but like, you know, that was not the only thing that did it for me. I had a bunch of other shit going on, like therapy and learning the neuroscience of it. And I was doing a lot of like energy work and energy healing and all those kinds of things. But it was a huge component. And I just, again, I mean, so I had a friend that I met at a writers conference who was in AA, and that again shocked me because I was like, but you're so cool. I was like, you're young and fun and like you're not a psycho.
Like not anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so I just think that it's so unfortunate for AA itself to put itself kind of in that category, to kind of like not allow people to pick up the true message, which is just that they're like, there's freedom out there, and so, and taking accountability for your actions. I mean, they're pretty basic principles.
They are super basic, but
honesty. What a concept.
I think it's about also the variety of stories I think what the connection is too, and I know that this is how it is for Colin, and he can speak to it on his own behalf. I know I don't have to speak for him, but finding a group, it's shut up. It's finding a group.
Sorry, we didn't want to hear your breastfeeding stories. Sorry.
You're like, I connect with these women, and you're not like saying it's not because they're necessarily well educated. It's just that you have more commonalities beyond the alcoholism too. And like Colin's favorite group, it's not even necessarily that it's like AA or rule strict base. It's like he just likes the people that are regulars there, and he goes in more for like a check-in. And again, we also respect the fact that AA helped guide us, but it's really finding a good group is like people that have problems with alcohol, but also are like kind of similar to what you're going through in that part of your life.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing that I come back to honestly is that I tried every other. I truly was like, I will not AA. I mean, that really was like my biggest fear. My biggest fear in life was that I would have to go to AA. And what I found, when I started going to meetings and people are there who are like 40 years sober, I was just like, oh my God, you're 40 years sober and you're just like barely hanging on by your fingernails coming to this meeting. And it's just like, that was not the case, like they're there to help other people. And like you said, you start to like, or at least I enjoy the meetings now.
Mhm.
It's like I get to see my friends. I get to hear how other people are dealing with life on life's terms. I get to hear how other people are getting through dark shit sober, and just how they're getting through it sober. And so it's kind of interesting. A couple of weeks ago, it must have been longer ago than that, but a while ago, I was at a meeting, and everyone was probably at least a year sober. And so it was like the whole meeting, nobody even talked about a drink. That was not the conversation was not about putting a drink down. It was about maintaining emotional sobriety. It was about how are we staying sober through like life is still happening.
Yeah.
How are we staying sober through these things, And so that was really, really cool when we got to the end of the meeting, and I texted my sponsor and I was just like, I don't think anyone has mentioned alcohol at this Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
And those are and I mean, we realize that it goes so much first deeper and beyond the alcohol. So now my question to you is, or both of you even, is how do we go forward? How do we respect tradition 11, carry step 12, and balance it between being people that speak publicly or write publicly in an open space? How do we do this respectfully?
You want to go ahead?
Let me jump in and take this one. Well, I think the second part is we live in such a culture now that we're in a kind of influencer based world now, and it's so easier to spread message. I mean, our son now has a YouTube channel of him playing Legos.
How cute.
And yeah, but it's like things like that. We couldn't have done that when I was kids. I mean, I made Lego movies just for me, and it was stop motion. But now Evan can actually like put it out in the world, and he's just playing with his Legos. It's so easier to share that information. I think a lot of this is,
and I'm cool with other kids watching him play with Legos.
Yeah, well, and like
Right,
you
fair
said,
enough.
it's not preaching. When you put it out here like this,
Right.
someone's coming on to whatever podcast they use, searching for it, obviously,
Right,
if they're curious or
right.
have a problem with alcohol. So that's why I don't think this is an issue, because it's not like we're going to Target selling CDs of our podcast, like, listen to this sober trying to find whoever looks like they need it,
Right,
giving them the
right.
message, or going up to a homeless guy and say, hey, you have a
Yeah.
phone, download my podcast
Right.
app. You need to hear this. And it's also the thing we've talked about. If this was around, Bill definitely would have been on a podcast. There's recordings of him speaking. So if there's recordings of him speaking about alcohol, then there would be.
He left his money to funding, like finding.
Yeah, there'd be
not a
podcast.
cure, but something for alcoholic people that have a hard time getting to the meeting because they're so saturated in alcohol.
And I think the other thing is, because in their rule, I mean, you're seeing a lot of other recovery programs start up, and I'm sure they have some sort of AA route to them, but like recovery elevators, smart recovery.
I mean, you have to understand that AA was built off of stealing it from the whatchamacallit,
because they're refusing.
So they stole from someone else.
But they're refusing to change or evolve with the times. But you're having these other recovery programs, that change.
I guess in terms of like the 12th step and squaring the 11th tradition. So the other thing I want to say about the sobriety groups that you're talking, or some of the sobriety groups, AA is the only group that is free. So I guess there are some other free groups, but some of those other groups that are out there, they are for profit, and that is a big deal. So that was another big deal to me in terms of like what makes AA accessible is that you don't have to contribute anything or whatever, it's self-sustaining. And so so that really is a big difference to me, as opposed to like kind of like you're saying, like the programs that have taken the basis of AA and then again made it like a for-profit deal.
Well, like Laura McCowan's The Luckiest Club, $26 a month but I did spend more than $1 a day drinking. So that's kind of how you rationalize it, right?
Right. Yeah. But so actually that is one of the reasons that I actually like, that book was a huge, a huge influence in my early sobriety. But yeah, I kind of like the amount similar to AA that the group is, and then the cost of it, I like have a little bit of a hard time.
And hundreds of thousands of members. And I'm like,
like, holy shit.
They raised the price. It was $13 a month. And now I've seen that over time.
That's so funny. That is so funny that you say that, because when I joined it, it was $14 a month. Exactly. And that, now it's.
But now more people are joining and the price is going up. Well, wouldn't you think that it's like, it should go down?
Yeah.
To be more inclusive.
And and you know what is actually funny? There is the other thing that kind of started to gross me out a little bit about that group was the level of hero worship towards her and all the other hosts. And so actually on that note, so one of the things that I thought was really so what I've learned from AA meetings, the no crosstalk rule. So I feel like I have learned how to speak more from myself. So kind of like back to that 12th step, 11th tradition. Well, I'm just sharing my story. I'm just sharing what worked for me. I'm not telling you I'm not shooting you. I'm not telling you I'm not telling anything about yourself. I'm talking about what happened to me, what worked for me and what I'm doing. And so I think that was the other thing that happened within that group is that
in other groups, it's not even just
right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. Just that it was a little bit like everybody was waiting for the host to say, to give them accolades or and so that is one thing that I think is pretty funny in AA meetings where somebody will say something like extremely profound or extremely impactful, and then if the chair is like, pretty a purist, they're just kind of like, next. Sorry to hear about your next.
You found kind of the sweet spot is in the world of creating in a new digital age. We're respecting the traditions and carrying the message, by not being like not cross talking, like making sure that we're speaking from the I perspective.
Yep.
I don't know if we all need a disclaimer, but I think that that's a really good start, is saying like, if you start going past the point of like what crosstalk would be, maybe that's when we start saying like, we don't want to have when someone even tells me they listen to the podcast, I get so cringe. Like, I'm like, oh my God, please don't. Like, I'm just trying to talk about what my story is or talk. I hope they enjoyed the person we're interviewing.
What's about what worked for us? And that's really, and
just laughing about the stupid stuff, like me testing my breast milk like a maniac. Like, and I don't talk about that unless I have someone where I'm like, they shared something pretty similar to something I've done. And there's going to be a mom that hears it and she's going to be like, I'm not alone. And that's like the only goal of the podcast. That is the goal of someone hears something out of the 60 minutes of banter and they say, I'm not alone. And maybe seeds planted, maybe not, but
exactly.
I don't care. I'm not preaching.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, I mean, having drank while breastfeeding 3 babies, the twins and the baby, and then having been sober this time, I mean, my self-esteem is so much better. So I did not, the Kristen who was drinking a 15% stout to like boost her breast milk did not love herself the way that I do actually like the person who I am most of the time.
And that's a beautiful way. And I know for time constraint, like, it's like we just learn that we like who we are without the alcohol. So it even becomes like life really isn't much about the alcohol, but we laugh at how much alcohol ran our lives before we like realized the hack of not drinking it.
Yeah.
So, and if you relate to that, awesome. If you don't, there's probably another podcast that's more relatable for you, or another newsletter.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so that's what I just think, like AA was a huge component of what got me sober. And so I just want and the concept of like that whole normalizing alcoholism and all that kind of stuff.
So right now, is Substack your main point of contact, or do you have a website? I see you have a Rode mic. Like, I mean, you have the same mic as us. So are you about to start a podcast maybe?
So my husband has a podcast. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he has like kind of all the, that's why he was here to my tech support.
Yeah. Well, this was, I was like, maybe you could think about it. I don't know.
I know. So I do want to start a podcast. So currently I have my Substack. I'm again, so my formal education, my formal background is in creative writing, so that I am working on a memoir. So I'm kind of, it's shifting between a lot, so much of it has to do with motherhood and with parenting, and again, I'm kind of back and forth on that. How much do I want to normalize alcoholism? Do I like the word alcoholism? But anyway, just kind of
sharing that.
Yeah, exactly.
I relate to that.
Yeah,
I relate to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just kind of, and so that is my goal, is to help other, people, but specifically moms who are just like, oh, that can't be me. Cause like I have a husband and I have a house, and there's like, sure, I drink a bottle of wine every day, but who wouldn't,
Yeah.
Well, okay, you're only mortal. Okay. So like your body's going to shut down, and again, the way that showing up for my kids completely is the most beautiful thing that I've ever done for myself. It is the greatest gift I've ever given myself in the world. Even when I'm reading them a bedtime story and I'm just like not wanting to finish the story. At least I know that it's because I'm sick of them, and not because I'm trying to go downstairs and get a glass of wine.
100%.
That's when I used to read a bedtime story, and I would be trying to sneak away to drink more. And I'd be skipping pages. I'm like, do they notice? Now when I skip pages, it's because I'm just done for the day.
There's a new episode out. Like, I gotta go. Come on, guys. Let's go.
Yeah. No. So the Substack. Yeah. So my husband, so he has a podcast called We're Not Supposed to Talk About This. And so it's about things we're not supposed to talk about. Politics, religion, sex, money, all those kinds of.
I was like, the things on my dad said, do not talk about sex, religion.
Exactly.
At a bar. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so he and I are moving towards hosting that together as well. So but I probably do want to do a podcast at some point as well. So but yeah, Substack is the main place to find me right now. And I have a Facebook group, but it's not very big right now. So I mostly just share my Substack. But
ours
most
isn't
of the
either.
writing.
So, but it's been a pleasure to talk with
been a
you.
lot
And
of
thank
fun.
you.
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
so much
Yeah,
for the
thank
time
you
you
so
gave.
much.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And
hanging in
anytime,
with us too.
anytime you want
I
to
appreciate it.
talk back, we'll talk about all the things we're not supposed to talk about. Like, we are.
Okay.
Well, that would be awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Yeah, thank
and
you so much. I really, really enjoyed this.
thank you for listening to Sober Banter.